Hey, it's Vax with yourcolorstyle.com, and in this video I want to share with you my thought process on how these soft and cool color palettes have been created along with the color wheel. As of April 2023, as you are probably watching this video now, we have made changes to all of the color palettes and color types within your color style. And so I've been creating these videos to share with you my process around how these color palettes are created so that you can understand what has changed, what really hasn't changed, and to really give you some more clarity around the reasons why the colors that are chosen are in your color palette. If you're also trying to figure out if one color palette is right for you versus another that seem very similar, some of these videos may be very helpful to you. So in this video, we'll be talking about the soft and cool color palettes. If you're interested in the bright and cool, soft and warm, and bright and warm color palettes, those are in other videos that are pretty close to this one in my YouTube feed. Okay, so what we're looking at right here is the foundation to all of the color wheels. This is all of the hues that are in the color wheels and the color palettes. These right now, what you're looking at are the pure chroma colors. They are bright and they do not have white or black added to soften them or any other color to mute them. So these are the main colors and the foundation of the color wheels. To explain to you the soft and cool color palettes, I want to first explain a couple things so that you can see how these color palettes were created. When white is added to those colors that you just saw, the colors are automatically softened. You don't need to mute or gray the colors to soften them. Adding white will simply soften them. So I hope you can see the difference here. As soon as we add white to this, it immediately softens them. The same is true for adding black. Notice that right away, the colors have been softened. They've been softened from this bright, clear chroma to these softer colors. When I think of someone that is soft, cool, and light, someone that has cool undertones, they are light hair, skin, and eyes. But the idea for that person to wear bright jewel tones might just be too much for them. And so they would then automatically fall into the soft, cool, and light category. Well, for someone like that, their dominant trait is really about being light, not necessarily muted or grayed. In fact, often individuals that fall into the soft, cool, and light category tend to have a soft gray blend hair, some just general gray softness about them. But they're so light that if we were to add more gray to their color palette, they won't have any color and it will gray them even further, which isn't exactly what they're looking for. Now, I used to say that if you really felt strongly that you were soft, cool, and light, that you should look at the bright, cool, and light color palette because it's bright and will brighten you up. Since then, I've taken a look at the soft, cool, and light color palette, and what I've decided, instead of putting you into recommending a color palette that has some pretty bright colors that you may not really want to wear, I decided to keep the light colors from the pure chroma colors with white added, meaning there's no more muting or gray in these colors, and then just softening a little bit of the brightest colors. So if this is the brightest colors, I then slightly muted them so they're not as strong or as intense. And then we add in the light colors that have already been softened with white. And that is what we're going to use for the soft, cool, and light color palette. Individuals that are soft and cool have cool undertones. So when we look at the full color wheel, and this is the soft color wheel with the lightest colors on the outside with the darkest colors on the inside. I have it two different ways. But since we're talking about soft, cool, and light first, I thought this would be more appropriate to share with you. For all the colors on the left side of the color wheel, these are ideal for cool undertones. It doesn't mean that there's not an overlap for someone with warm undertones, but if you have cool undertones, the colors on the left side of the color wheel from this pink all the way around to green blue are ideal for you with cool undertones. Green and true red are also universal colors that will look good on you if you have cool undertones. Both colors are an even balance of cool and warm, and therefore are shared between warm undertones and cool undertones. So a true green can look great on someone with cool undertones, and the same is true for true red. As more yellow is added to the colors, the less likely the colors are going to flatter someone with cool undertones. When we talk about color harmony in art means colors that all share one color. And if they all share the same color, they are harmonious in a piece of art, in a piece of work. The same is true for color analysis, but you may not always think of it that way. So for someone who has cool undertones, they likely have a blue undertone. Now, that doesn't mean you necessarily see it. Sometimes you do see a lot of blue, but not always. Sometimes it's a blue pink, sometimes it's a neutral and you really can't see blue. But for all intents and purposes, you have a blue undertone. And so therefore, all colors that share that blue will be harmonious with you. So all these colors on the left-hand side share blue, and so therefore are ideal for someone with cool undertones. Now, colors ranging from green to yellow also have blue in them, but they start to become more dominantly yellow versus blue in the balance, and they start to feel a little off, especially on someone who is soft and cool. Okay, so let me show you the soft, cool, and light color wheel. And as you can see, it's much smaller than the large color wheel that I shared with you because they're light. Light, medium, and deep in your color style helps you identify the range of colors from light to dark that are ideal for your coloring and tone. So someone that is light, like hair, eyes, and skin, is going to have a lighter range of colors from light to the brightest, and I'll air quote since it's a softer version of that color, to just a tick darker. If you're medium, it would be a little bit more dark, and then deep will be darker, and I will show you those examples. And as I explained, from true red all the way around to true green are colors that are ideal for someone with cool undertones. Now, the only difference between this color wheel and the bright, cool, and light color wheel is this ring right here. It's the second ring in a bright, cool, and light color wheel. This ring is much brighter, all the way around to this very bright yellow. But it's been softened, but we've kept the light colors as they are and the one step darker as it is, because it's not that someone that's soft, cool, and light necessarily needs muted colors. They just need softened colors. So these are slightly softened plus the white and the black added. And so you can see they're very similar, but it's not as intense. You may also notice yellow here. Now, true bright yellow is going to probably feel entirely too strong for someone that's a soft, cool, and light. And any of the darker versions of this yellow start to look olivey green, which is great for other color types, but not for someone that's soft, cool, and light. We're going to keep it light. So these light lemon yellows, these are true yellow with white added. These are going to also be very, very flattering on someone that's soft, cool, and light. Yellow is a true primary color. It is on the warm side of the color wheel, but it is a color that seems to flatter people whether or not you have warm or cool undertones. I no longer have a star next to yellow as a universal color like I do on other colors that I feel can be evenly shared between warm and cool undertones, because the darker versions of yellow tend to look a little green and are more olivey, and those are ideal for some color types but not other color types. And so I didn't want to confuse people by assuming that if this is the range of color for light, that it would go that dark also for the yellow, and I don't think that's the case at all. So we're going to keep these light yellows here and keep this color light and delicate. So this is soft, cool, and light. So now let's look at soft, cool, and medium. To explain soft, cool, and medium, let me just back up a couple steps. We started out with the brightest colors. Then we softened the colors a tiny bit. These soft colors are used in soft and cool light, all of the soft and warm color palettes, and also in the soft, cool, and deep color palette. But for soft, cool, and medium, their dominant trait is a little bit more muted and grayed tones. So I went ahead and muted these colors even more. It is very subtle. You're not going to necessarily notice the difference because I really didn't touch any of the warm colors on the right hand side. I just muted slightly some of the colors on the cool side. Okay, so because when we talk about graying colors, that's really happening more on the cool side than it does on the warm side of the color wheel. Really, when you go to mute a color that's warm, you're turning them into brown, which is not much different than adding black to a color. So to keep things simple, I focused a little bit more on the cool tones and just muted them a hair more for soft, cool, and medium because their dominant trait tends to be more muted and grayed. The same rules apply when it comes to the colors that are in harmony with someone with cool undertones. So as you can see here, we go from true red all the way around to true green. That doesn't change. Now notice that the range of color is a little bit darker than the soft, cool, and light. The brightest, I'm air quoting here, the brightest color in the color wheel is the center ring here. It doesn't look very bright because remember I just showed you that I muted those colors to be a little bit more soft than the other color types. And then because of that, I went ahead and muted slightly the next ring down so that there was a little bit more of an even pace of color going down to light, but not too much because I didn't want these colors to lose their color completely. I just wanted them to be grayed a tiny bit. So this is a little bit softer than what you would find in the soft, cool, and light color palette. I've also added in a pumpkin, a soft pumpkin, and the true yellows here for soft, cool, and medium. And you will notice I've done the same thing for soft, cool, and deep. Now, why did I do that? Well, because as the individual gets a little bit deeper, whether the hair's getting darker or the skin's getting darker or the eyes, this is where we start to get a little bit more variety in the coloring of an individual. And someone with cool undertones can end up having a little bit of warmth. Sometimes it's a little bit of pumpkin in their brown eyes, and it could also be some olive green in their eyes, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they have warm eyes. It just means they have some warmth in their overall coloring, but they still have cool undertones. Sometimes their dark hair may have a hint of red in it, and that's happens a lot, especially for someone who's bright, cool, and deep, but that doesn't mean you have warm undertones, and so it can be confusing sometimes. But because those colors are naturally part of you, I added these colors into these color wheels. So this is fairly new. If you look at the previous version of these color palettes, that we do not have pumpkin in there, and I limited these a little bit differently on the true yellow. So from what I've seen, this is where we're at this point. So I've added in true pumpkin, so someone that is has a little bit of warmth can wear this. Also someone that is just dominantly cool, that has obvious cool tones through their skin, eyes, and hair, sometimes can wear this soft pumpkin as an accent, which can be really, really interesting just to offset the dominant blue. Also, we have our true yellow. I've taken out the very bright yellow here because I feel like it's just entirely too strong for someone that's soft, cool, and medium. The soft version of the color is, I think, a little bit it feels a little warm and a little bit too muddy for someone that's soft, cool, and medium. But I also have noticed that just like in soft, cool, and deep, some individuals have some olive green in their eyes. And so I wanted to make sure that I captured those colors. So when you get your color palette and you are someone who's soft, cool, and medium, or soft, cool, and deep, you're really going to want to understand your level. So this is a new advanced concept. It's a secondary trait to the main color type. This is in Style Masters. So when you know your color type, you join Style Masters, and then we start to explore your level 1, 2, or 3, so that you know whether these colors are going to be part of your best colors or just okay colors. All these colors will flatter you, but you want to make sure that you know which ones are going to be your wow colors as well. So this is your soft, cool, and medium color palette. It's probably the softest color palette out of all 12. Now let's look at soft, cool, and deep. Soft, cool, and deep is created very similar to soft, cool, and light, meaning that I took the bright color wheel with the lighter colors, even though we don't have that here, and the darker colors, and didn't really touch them. I left them with just the pure clear chroma colors with black added or white added, and only softened the middle ring. The middle ring is right here, and it is slightly softened. It shares more of the colors from the soft, cool, and light ring that I softened. It's not as muted as the soft, cool, and medium version of these colors. So they're just softened. One of the reasons that I did that is because what I've noticed is that someone who's soft, cool, and deep, because of their dark features, especially if they have dark eyes or really dark hair, they are right there on the bridge between soft, cool, and deep and bright, cool, and deep. And the biggest difference between the two individuals is that someone who's bright, cool, and deep can absolutely wear those bright jewel tones. They often have a very sharp quality about them. Whereas someone who's soft, cool, and deep needs a little presence with their colors, can definitely wear brighter colors, but not necessarily the brightest jewel tones. Those will still overpower them, even with their darker features. But I wanted to still make sure that they had those brighter colors to enjoy, to balance out their darker tones. So that's why this brightest ring is just softened a tiny bit. It's going to feel much brighter on someone who is soft, and it will feel much softer on someone who is bright. Everything is relative when your colors interact with your skin and your tones. And then everything else is about the same. There's just black added. There's no muting in these colors. So these colors are much more rich than they were before. We have the pumpkin, soft pumpkin, and just one touch darker. Not that I think that brown really looks good on someone that's soft, cool, and deep, but I have noticed there have been individuals that have those hazel eyes that tend to be able to wear this range of color right here really well. Okay, and then the same is true for the full range of yellows here. Those are colors that are very flattering, especially if you have those hazel eyes with a little bit of warmth in them. Everything else is true to cool undertones, from the true reds all the way around to the true greens in this range of deep colors here. And that is the soft and cool color palettes and color wheels. I hope this has helped you understand the color palettes themselves, the changes if you're familiar with these colors, and if you're trying to figure out your color type, maybe this is also giving you some clues to that as well. You can find out more about color types and maybe take the quiz out on yourcolorstyle.com/quiz. I'm Jen Vax, and thank you so much for watching.